Hey, welcome to another podcast with NECKROOTS. I'm Kit James.
Austin Davis.
And hey guys, we're talking about something that's pretty deep today. The title is called Perception is Reality.
Yeah, perception is reality. So perception plus your belief equals your reality, right?
Yeah.
Kit, so everything is exactly the way that you perceive it, right? If you think something is good, it is.
Right.
If you think something is bad, it's bad, right?
Right.
And we tell ourselves this all the time, Neck Nation. We perceive things every minute of every day, right? Whether we know we're doing it or not. Everything, we place a perception on every single aspect of our life. And we've got a lot of control over that, don't we, Kid?
Yeah, we do. But you know what the reality is? Our perception gives us control or takes that control away.
Yeah, sure.
So this is one of those subjects where I think you can, there's two sides to the coin. And I think perception absolutely 100% equals reality. But at the same time, sometimes our perception's wrong.
Yeah.
And it doesn't equal reality, right? And reality is the state of the things as they are, and they're actual and they're truth, and they don't change, and it is what it is. But our perception always is different. So I look at perception like there's so many different perceptions because there's so many different people. Yeah. My perception's not going to be the same as your perception and vice versa, right?
Right, correct.
And so I think just as individual as everybody is, so is our perception. It's always going to be unique. It's going to be individual. It's going to be just like us, different, and we're going to see the world different. So perception to me, Austin, is the way you see the world, the way you see things.
Yeah.
Not how they really are, but the way you see them.
Yep.
Right? And so I've got a story that actually, it nails it. You know, I've spent a lot of time out on the job site, right?
Oh, sure.
When you're out on the job site, sometimes it gets Western, and sometimes it's a little crazy. And
oh, yeah, I've heard some stories, man.
Everybody's talking about how tough they are, et cetera, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, the reality is one day, and it's dangerous out there, right? Yeah. We're always in safety meetings, and it's safety first, and we do sometimes more safety meetings than we do work.
Gotcha.
Would drive you nuts for anybody that is blue collar understands what I'm talking about. So one day, this guy that worked for me, he's always bragging about how tough he is, right? He jumps down off this wall, and there was a board there that had a 16 penny nail stuffed right through it. Right?
Oh, dang.
And he had a steel toe boots on and the whole deal, right? But he jumped off the wall. It was a good 4 or 5 feet. So you got this 200-pounder coming down, and dude, this nail stuffed right through the bottom of his shoe, come right out the top.
Oh,
right?
My gosh, man.
And so you could see it penetrating, like literally.
That's brutal.
Yeah, it just missed he didn't have the legit steel toes on. He had those carbon fiber, just the end of it.
Okay.
So he wouldn't kick his toe or stub his toe, but it didn't cover the whole toe. So anyways, this nail comes stuffing through his boot, right? The top of his boot. And you could just see the very tip of it.
Yeah.
Dude, he flipped out.
Oh.
In pain,
Oh, I'm sure.
And so I'm like, crap, dude, we got to cut this board. We got to take him in. So anyways, that's what we did. I didn't want to yank it out.
No.
Right? And I'm like, dude, is it through your foot? He goes, directly right through my freaking, my big toe. And I goes, it hurt? And he goes, yeah, it's throbbing. Dude, this dude was in pain. Like forget about it, pain.
Tough guy broke down.
Yeah. And so we drag him in, and we go to the emergency room, and I'm on the phone with the office going, we're going to have a workers' comp claim. This is, right, it's just a nail that stuffed through, but it went all the way through,
yeah,
right?
That's what it is.
And so all the way there, dude, every bump we hit, and I'm like, bro, sorry, man. And honestly, it was so dramatic that I just started hitting all the manholes. I'm like, whoops, was that a speed bump? But anyways, long story short, and this is very interesting. We get in there, and the doctor comes out, and he's goes, okay, we're going to have to pull this out. We're going to have to do this. We're going to have to clean it, da-da-da. And he goes, can you feel it? Is it gone through is it penetrated? Did it breach and come all the way through? It must have went around a bone and come all the way through. He goes, oh, yeah, it's ripped tendons, the whole deal. These guys had to pick the board up and cut it, and I could feel the nail moving in my foot, and it was ruthless. And he's telling him how much pain he's in, and legit, this dude was in pain. I seen it.
Okay.
He was ambulance all the way there.
Yeah.
Right. So Anyway, and I don't know if you want a day off. I'm like, dude, if you want a day off, just tell me. You know what I mean?
You don't have to step on a nail, man.
I have to jump on it. So, anyways, the doctor says, okay, we're going to take his shoe off. We're going to do this, this, and this. And so, and clean it. And we're going to see what we're working with and see what we need to do. Take some x-rays. Takes his boot off. I mean, that was a catastrophic deal. I mean, he was howling at the moon. He was in pain.
Gosh.
Like, I'm going to tell you right now, you see anybody in pain, you know they're in pain. He's in pain.
He's in pain.
Right? And so anyways, he takes it off and gets his sock, and they cut his sock off and the whole deal. And that nail had gone between the big toe and that second toe. Between.
It didn't go through his toe?
Nope. Did not go through his toe.
You're kidding me.
Nope. 100% did not go through his toe. So when he was moving, it was right up against, right? It was right up against where like his foot.
Yeah.
But it was between the toes. Did not penetrate. No blood. Nothing.
Oh my gosh.
And so when it would move, he would feel it up against the web of his foot, right?
Yeah,
like
right in between his toes.
And so, I mean, I know there's a lot of nerves and stuff in your toes, but come on.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, he was howling at the moon thinking he just got stuck, right? And somebody shot him in the toe. But the truth is, he just knew it was through, and
he believed it.
And he believed it. So did I.
Yeah.
I was like, freak, man, was that nail on fire? I mean, what's going on? He was in pain.
Gosh.
So anyways, the doctor explained to me, because I was giving him a hard time, right? And I shouldn't have. I started calling him Scratch. I'm like, dude, you got a scratch.
You got a scratch.
You should have heard you howling like a tomcat, and you got a scratch. His nickname to this day, Scratch.
Oh, my gosh.
Right? I mean, he was gimping and limping and whimpering, so the doctor pulls me aside and he goes, look, dude, you got to stop giving your buddy such a hard time, because he was actually in pain. And I said, so was I. I was starting to feel it. And he goes, no, really. He goes, this is the thing. Medicine has advanced so much that we're finding different ways to treat different things. But if we could find a way to treat pain, just like the reverse way that your buddy thought he was in so much pain, he goes, he truly believed it. He goes, do you think he was in pain? I'm like, freak, no. He goes, he was.
Gosh, that's crazy.
That's how powerful your belief system and your mind is.
Perception
and your perception, right?
Yeah.
Think about that. So, I mean, anyone that jumps on a nail and sees it come all the way through, first thing you're thinking is it penetrated.
That's through my foot.
That's through your foot.
Yeah.
Well, he just went there and he goes, it's through my foot. And then as he would move, it would move. He'd feel it, because it's such a tight, he got lucky.
That's crazy.
That it went through it. But it just shows you the importance and the power of perception.
Absolutely.
So I think about where do we get our perception from? Number one, what is perception? Right? I think we identify the two. Perception is obviously what we talked about, which is the way we see the world.
Yeah, how you
our
do
view.
It. Yeah,
right?
Our view.
And we can go back to that classic example of the glass is half empty or it's half full.
Yeah.
Right? And I think everybody's going to see it differently depending on the situation. You and I are going to look at a situation completely differently, even though we're bros.
Yep.
Right?
For sure.
And you're going to go, dude, that ain't right. And I'm gonna be like, check that out. That's dope.
Yeah, that's right? How it would go.
and I think that perception is so important. And I think to myself, where do we get our perception from? So I can think past experiences, right? Yeah. Some of the things we've been through, and also some of the people around us. Maybe their perception influences our perception as well.
I think so.
Right?
Especially those we grow up with, our family and our friends, for
yeah.
sure.
Yeah, I think we take on some of their perceptions. I mean, my son the other day is like, Dad, why don't we like this again? I'm like, because it's a Dodge, dude. I don't know.
I don't know.
Right? Or whatever.
Yeah, whatever it is.
And he's like, and why don't you like that goat out there on the ranch? Because that one, his name's Mr. Nuts, and he came at me.
He's crazy.
He's crazy. We don't like him.
Yeah.
Right? I think it's part of that judging the book by its color, by its cover, or how many times have you been walk into a situation and your mind's already made up of what it is? You're getting ready to defend it or whatever. This could be with the wife or family or whatever. And you go into that situation and you're like, oh man, that's not what I perceived. Right?
Yeah.
I've gone to a class. They're like, oh, you take this class. And I'm like, dude, a 4-hour class. I got to sit still for 4 hours.
Jeez.
that's like 1.5 church.
Yeah, right. 1.5 church.
And I got to sit still that long. And so I'll already have my perception antenna is going bananas.
Yeah.
And I already saying to myself, this is going to suck. I might as well go to the library and read 5 books.
No kidding.
Right. And so you go in there and then it's this team building thing and you're using your mind and it's dope. And
It's
I loved
awesome.
it. Yeah.
It's cool.
Not what I perceived. So
Yeah.
I think we go into that situation all the time. So our perceptions will definitely, they're not always right.
Yeah. They're
Right.
not.
And they'll hurt us when they're not right and we're arguing that we are right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's one thing about perception, right? Is it shapes your reality. I don't want to say like live your truth or whatever, the saying that people say nowadays.
Right.
That's not what I'm saying, but your perception will shape your reality.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's things in life that you don't like, right? There's maybe it's a trial, struggle, whatever, something you don't like, and evaluate that thing, see if that thing can change, right? So if it can't change, then the only thing that can change is your perception about that thing.
Right.
And this is where that phrase comes from, create your own happiness, right, Kit?
Yeah.
Is, Neck Nation, we have a responsibility to ourselves to create our own happiness. And we can do that through our perception. I mean, we're talking about how powerful perception is here and that it shapes our reality. So if we have a bad attitude about everything in our life, man, our reality is it's going to suck.
Yeah.
It's going to be miserable. So let's change our perception, right?
Yeah.
Let's create our own happiness. Let's, instead of looking at things and thinking about the negative impact that they have on us, let's look at things in a more positive light, right?
Absolutely. And you know what? I think about perception, Austin. I go, it's real similar to attitude, right?
Sure.
But the reality has nothing to do with the attitude. The perception is the perception. The attitude that we have will impact our perception, but it's not the other way around. That perception can't impact your attitude, right? So I think we take our attitude, our past experiences, and those things that we've learned or gained from other popular people, or the majority, if you will, and we kind of form our own perception. But when things happen, I mean, I got a great example. If you take just a minute and you think of your favorite restaurant, right? Neck Nation, do this with us, right? Think of your favorite restaurant. And if you can't think of one favorite restaurant and you have several, you're like, well, I like 3 or 4 or 5. Just take one of those top 3, 4, or 5. Okay? Think of that restaurant and then think of the reasons you like that restaurant. Why do you love that place? Why do you like that place? What are the benefits? Is it the atmosphere, the ambiance? Is it the food? Is it the service? Is it the location? What is it?
Sure.
And then now that you're thinking of that, those things that you like about your favorite restaurant, take a place or a city or a place in the city that you absolutely hate, right?
Okay.
And think of the reasons why you hate it, right?
Yep.
I mean, if you hate it, you already know the reasons. So you think about some of those reasons. And when you think about the reason you love the restaurant, you can almost, start smiling or feel or taste
you
or
can
smell
it. Oh, yeah.
Right? And as you think of the place that you hate, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Right? Now, what if we took those two examples and we reversed them? And I said, Austin and Neck Nation, everybody listening, find a few reasons to dislike. Find something wrong that you don't like with your favorite restaurant.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, there's got to be something.
Yeah.
Right? It could be location, whatever.
I've got one. It's too damned expensive.
Right? There you go.
Yeah.
And that could be it, right?
Yeah.
And it could make you feel a certain way. Now, think of the reasons why you could like or try to like, right? You don't have to love it, but just find reasons why you can like that place that you hate.
Yeah.
Or that location.
Yeah.
You can find some.
You can find something for sure.
And what that tells us is if you're looking for it and you're open, you can find something, right?
I love that, Kid. If you're looking for it, you're going to find it,
Yeah.
right? If you're looking for reasons to hate something, you're going to find them, right? And that's what your perception of that is going to be. And I love what you said there. Super important, Neck Nation, that we identify things that we don't like. Let's think of some things that we do like about those things, and we're not saying that you're going to love them. right? You're not going to love your trials. You're not going to love your struggles. You're not going to love the things you hate, but it's possible to like them.
Right.
Right? At the very least, just try and like them. Change your perception.
Yeah.
Right?
I can't tell you how many times my kids go, nope, don't like it. It's got guacamole in it. Da, 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 da. Right. They leave the house, and I'm like, hey, what'd you do today?
Yeah.
Oh, we just went to dinner. Where'd you go? What'd you guys eat? What did this guy feed you or whatever?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, we ate this. I'm like, what? Wait, hang on. Stop. Back up. Slow your roll. You ate what?
You would never eat that here.
No. And he's like, yeah, dude, that's good. I'm like, you're never a prophet in your own home, obviously.
Never.
Right? It's like you won't try it. You won't open your perspective at all to just give it a try, right? You're closed off and you go somewhere else and you try it and then you realize you like it. I don't know. I can't tell you how many things I realized I liked if you try it, right? Yeah. But I think our mind's the same way. We need to try to see things. And this is the best example. I mean, I can think of 100 times. My favorite restaurant is not my wife's favorite restaurant, right?
Sure.
Her perception 100% is in Mars versus mine, right? Which is right here on Earth.
Yeah, right. Nice.
But no, we do see things differently. Is that bad? No.
No.
I think if sometimes we get into that rut where if people don't agree with us or see it the way we see it, then they're automatically, they're done.
Yeah.
You can tune them off or turn them off. But I think that really impacts our relationships. It's important to see things and be open and be teachable.
Absolutely.
Right? And so if we have certain perceptions and prejudices or whatever you want to call it, and we see the world a certain way, and if you're dead set on the way you see the world, and I've got a buddy that he's been married a handful of times, and he told his new girl that he's dating, he said, don't try to change me, and these are the rules, like right? And it's like, change is good, perception's a choice, right? It's something that we can choose, and so, I mean, relationships, it'll impact relationships. It'll impact our happiness.
Yeah.
It'll impact our health. You said something about a positive reflection or a positive view on our perspectives. I had a friend call me up. He's like, man, I just got to talk to somebody. I said, what's up? He's like, frick, dude, I just lost my job. Out of the blue, this, that. I didn't even see it coming. And I knew cuts were coming, but I'm the guy that makes the cuts. And they were like, pulled me in, and I thought we were going to get a list. Oh, no, dude. He handed me one name on there, and it was mine. He's like, you can take this severance, you can do this, but this is what kind of time you have, and you're out.
Yeah.
And he goes, I didn't even see it coming. I'm like, man, I'm sorry to hear that. He's like, what do I do? And I'm like, well, bro, those are the cards you're holding right now, right?
Yeah.
The only way you can do is just look at it and say, hey, this door closed, man. And another one that's going to open up is going to be big enough to drive a Mack truck through. And you have to go about it that way. Is it easy? No. Is it hard? Yeah. But the truth is, if everyone's perspective was the same, we would never be wrong, right? We'd always be right.
Yep.
It'd be a pretty boring place.
It'd be horrible.
Right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, we'd all be gamblers. I would.
Yeah, because we got the right perspective.
Yeah, you're always right. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Kit, there's some perceptions as we talk about this, some perceptions are more important than others, right? Our perception on a movie or our perception on, job, whatever it is like that, those can be, not as priority as our perception of ourselves, right?
Right.
So this is a call to Neck Nation, right? Is what is your perception of yourself? How do you view and how do you feel about yourself? What do you think about yourself, Neck Nation? And if you don't like what your perception is, or if your perception is negative, right? I mean, we've been there, right? Most of us have been there.
Yeah.
We know what that's like, but you got to change it.
Yep.
Remember back to podcast number 4, I'll decide. Yeah. Right? This is your perception. It's not anybody else's. You get to decide how you feel about yourself, right? And if you're down in the dumps, if you're going through a hard time, if you're struggling, depression, whatever it is, right?
Yep.
Choose right now. You get to decide. Change that perception. And it doesn't have to be you go from, we've said this before, no going from 0 to 100, right? You're not gonna learn to get over that in one day, right? It's gonna take some time. It's a process.
Yeah.
But man, change your perception right now. Work on changing that right now.
So important.
Yeah.
And you know what? Perception's a choice. That's what we have to remember. Sometimes we get it and we're like, hey, everybody's doing it or everybody sees it this way. And we end up doing things that we particularly don't like just because other people like them.
Yeah.
Right. And so, I mean, we need to take that choice back and decide, because that perception can be whatever we want it to be.
Yeah.
We need to decide what that perception looks like. And to be teachable and to see that glass half full instead of half empty, I'll tell you what, a positive perspective will make a bigger difference in your life and the happiness, overall happiness of your life and success of your life, enjoying that journey, than looking at it in a pessimistic manner. If you look at everything negative, the outcome is just the same. I mean, it affects your health, happiness, everything. Yeah. And I think our mental well-being is respected enough and treasured enough and important enough, and so are we, that we need to update our expectation in the perspective folder, right? Let's pull that perspective folder out of the calendar. Why do I think this? And evaluate it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And challenge it.
Sure.
It's okay.
Yep.
Because you can be wrong. I mean, you can be dead wrong. I've taken a test before and I'm like, dude, I am so prepared for this test. I'm going to flip and ace it. I can just coast now.
Yeah.
Dude, I go look at the results and I'm like, I failed. How?
Or barely made it, right? I've been there, just barely made it.
Yeah, and my perspective.
I thought I had this zoned in.
I was studying so hard, and it was clicking, and so I'm like, my perspective is what? I'm gonna ace it.
Yeah.
Or at least come in, at a decent number that you can justify, right? A decent grade. But how is it? So when they posted the results on the window, that's reality.
Yeah.
That is not perspective.
Yeah.
Right?
There's a reality check.
Yeah.
Right there.
And so I think about what I could have done different. I thought I was prepared.
Yeah.
100%. I was not prepared. But my perspective, saying, hey, this is my subject, dude. I'm a street smart, neck. I got this. We're going to get Western, take this test, and the game going to be over. It's be easy. But I did prepare. So you just assume, hey, I'm prepared.
Yeah.
What I should have done different is maybe taken a quiz, right? A sample quiz along the way throughout my learning and figured out if that would have told me right there, that would have been the indicator if I was ready or not, or if my perception was, skewed a little bit because of the effort that I was putting in.
Yeah.
Right. And so perception's so important.
It is so important. And it doesn't, there are some times where we, like you just, the example you just gave, Kit, where we get a reality check, right? Yeah. And then we need to reevaluate our perception in those situations. But that doesn't take away from the power of perception, right? Because perception has the ability to help build our confidence.
It does.
For sure, right? Yeah. You walked into that test thinking that you were going to ace it. You had all the confidence in the world. Now, if you had a little more preparation, you could back up that confidence. Right. And confidence is not a bad thing. I mean, we've talked about how good it is to have confidence. And so, perception does have the power to build confidence. And sometimes we get a reality check, but that doesn't mean, right, that our perception on everything is wrong. It was just our perception on that one thing.
Right.
Right. And we got a reality check there. Is it okay if I share a story here?
Dude, it's always story time at Neck Nation.
It's always story time here on the NECKROOTS podcast. So, and this is related to perception here, but there was a guy who was a world-renowned violinist, right? And he was playing in a subway. His name's Joshua Bell, right? Yep. And he went down to a subway to play music, and he had like a $3.5 million violin. And he started playing the most intricate piece that he knew how to play. And remember, this guy's world-renowned in playing violin. And people were just walking by, right? For an hour he played, and most people just walked by, and there was a few kids that stopped, a few people dropped off $1 in the case, right?
Right.
Maybe 20 people stopped to watch him in this whole hour, where thousands of people had walked by in that hour, and they didn't realize who he was. And 2 days later, this Joshua Bell played at a concert hall in this city where people paid $100 per ticket to see him play a violin. And it's just crazy that the perception of these individuals in the subway, they didn't know.
Yep.
They didn't know what was sitting right in front of them. They didn't have the right perception. And if they did, man, how much more could you appreciate it?
Yeah.
And I think that that's a lesson for us, Neck Nation, is if sometimes we may have the wrong perception. I think, you've been saying that already today.
Yeah.
And it's okay to change it. But what are you missing out on if your perception is wrong?
Right.
And especially, we just talked about the perception of ourselves. What are you missing out on if your perception is wrong, Neck Nation?
Well, my perception's wrong because when you said he was playing a $3.5 million violin, I didn't even think really?
Yeah.
$3.5 million?
Dude, some people pay that for instruments.
Well, if you can't shift it and it don't do 55, are you sure it's worth that much money?
It sounds really good, apparently.
Yeah, no, I've heard that story before, and that's a great one for perception because we get so in tunnel vision.
Yeah.
And I always try to tell my kids, stop and smell the roses, man. Look around, learn something.
Yeah.
Pull your head out of I say pull your head out of your apps. That's what I say.
There you go. That's what you say.
Yeah. Pull your head out of your apps, right?
Yeah.
And look around, especially when we're driving or traveling, and be where you are. It's so important because your perception might change when you pull your head out and start to broaden your horizon a little bit. Just the things you see. I think our perception comes from our senses too.
Sure.
And that's sight. What we see, we'll have a certain perception. What we smell, what we taste, what we feel,
What you hear,
right? Our senses are so important, and so there's a lot of different ways that our power and our perception gets built from past experiences to our senses, and we just need to monitor those senses and update them and make sure we're paying attention. And what's interesting is you think about court, like a court case or going in front of a jury. You know what's interesting about that has to do with and relates to this is you got one side defending somebody. Let's say it's a murder case, right?
Sure.
You got one side defending. Well, what are they using? They're talking to a panel, a jury, right? And this jury has the responsibility of making the decision whether you're guilty or not, right?
Right.
So your life hangs in the majority. And to defend that, you've got to put down a perception that's viable.
Yeah.
Right? Well, whoever's prosecuting you or on the other side, if you will, they have to do the same thing. And that perception has to be so persuasive and so good that you can believe it and that they'll decide, hey, let's put him away or whatever.
Yeah.
So, in that case, majority wins, right? They all have to agree.
They all have to agree.
And so how many times do you see perception in play? That's another one you see it in play. A dog comes up and jumps on you.
Yep.
You either see a puppy that's happy to see you and just happy to be alive, or you see fear, right?
Yeah.
This dog jumping up. And you've seen it, right? Whether it's in the movies or in person, people are going to react differently based on the way they see their world.
Yeah.
And so for us, I think to individualize it just for our relationships and for our loved ones and for those that are around us, right? And for those that need hope and a little bit of light, I think we need to broaden and open our hearts to a little bit more of a teachable perception and maybe not be so quick to judge that, hey, this is this way.
Yeah.
Right. Matter of fact, because truth is, if we just open our hearts a little bit and be teachable, we might learn that it's not quite that way. And we always know that there's three sides of the story. There's this guy's side, and then there's something in the middle, which is
probably the truth.
Probably closer to the truth, right?
Yeah.
And so I look at three truths, and it's the truth is what it is, right?
Yeah.
And it's the truth. It's the absolute truth. Then there's the truth, the way you perceive it to be.
Yeah.
Right? And you think it's truth.
Yeah.
Then there's the truth based on popular opinion, right? Or the majority of the population. And they say that's the truth. And I think sometimes we, by default, if we're wavering a little bit and we don't know who we are and we forget our roots and it's a certain situation where you're like, I don't know, man, this could go either way. You kind of lean towards the third one, which is,
you adopt the majority.
Let's adopt the majority. But the truth is, number one is correct, and that is the truth is the absolute truth.
Yeah.
right? No matter what.
Yeah.
So because of the power of our mind, our perception, the reason we do say perception is reality is because if you say you can't, right?
Yep.
And so we have to be careful about what we tell ourselves, the way we talk to ourselves, and how we process our own perspectives, because the world's going to view you the way you view yourself. And that's a really powerful thing to learn and to know.
Yeah.
So how you view yourself is how the world's going to view you. They don't have another secondary market to go out and say, this is how I view Austin or this or that, right?
Yeah.
They're going to take experiences, and people won't remember what you say as much as
What you do.
what you do and how you made them feel.
Yeah.
It's more important how you made them feel, right? Those
Yep.
are one of the senses. And I think so, in thinking about perspective and reality, sometimes we're wrong. So we need to go, okay, honey, where's your favorite restaurant? All right. Yeah, freaking love salad.
Love salad.
Let's go, right? Whatever. We have to be open and amenable, I think, in our perspective, so we don't get so set in our ways that we miss opportunities to maybe deepen our love or to learn something or to be teachable. I mean, that's the whole thing. We're not always going to be right, and if we were, it'd be freaking boring.
Yeah.
Right?
It would be boring.
We got to bump our beak once in a while, bump into the wall and bump our nose and figure it out. Right?
Yeah. So there you go, Neck Nation. Let's sit back and evaluate our perception, right? What is our perception on all kinds of things throughout our lives? And maybe some of those need to be updated, like we've talked about, especially if your perception of yourself is a little off. Let's get that corrected, right? Let's make sure that we do what we can to take care of ourselves, update our perspectives and our perceptions. But for now, we'll leave you with that. If you like the video, if you like the content, be sure to like it in YouTube, subscribe to the YouTube channel. You guys do that. The more you do it, the more people we can reach, right? We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we've got a few videos on TikTok, so check those out if you're interested. And we've also got some pretty cool neck gear, some t-shirts and some hats on NECKROOTS.com. So go there and get plugged into your Neck Nation power station. But for now, we'll leave you with that. And bless up, Neck Nation.
Bless up. Thanks for joining us.